I'm going to ask ChatGPT the most controversial, the hardest AFL debates, and then I'm going to be answering them, explaining my thoughts through them with you. So let's ask the question, give the hardest AFL debates. Sweet, so here we go. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I already recorded this, but I forgot to put the mic on. Anyway, should the AFL introduce a draft lottery system? Starting off with this, I am a big non-believer in this. The only reason being, like, why do you need to add luck to it? I think the system already works. If a team's doing poorly, they're gonna get the better draft pick, more or less. That's how things work, and let's keep it that way. The minute you start adding luck in, I feel like the chances of a crappy team doing better over the years will be decreased. It says here the AFL should implement a system similar to other professional sport leagues where teams with poorer records have a higher chance of securing higher draft picks. Supporters argue to promote fairness and competitive balance. Yeah, all that equalness shit, you know what, that's the goal in sport, but I feel like this just wouldn't help. Opponents believe it would discourage teams for striving for success. Look, I don't know about that one, but I'm just not a fan of that. Number two, should the AFL introduce a transfer system? Now, this is very much in line with a recent TikTok I made. Check it out on FTFooty. It is whether the AFL should introduce, or why the AFL must introduce relegation in an imaginary world with millions and billions of dollars that the AFL clearly does not have because they can barely get a 19th license. Now, I don't think this will work in the current system. In a great world where you could have relegation promotion, this would work perfect for it, but if you were to introduce this into the game as it is right now, the big teams, the Collingwoods, the Carltons, the Richmonds, the Essendons, they're going to be poaching all the good players like the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas, the Uniteds, those kind of teams. And then the GWSs, the Gold Coast, the North Melbournes, the lower teams with less supporters and less sort of success, you know, the Luton Towns, the Sunderlands, those type of teams, they're just not going to get the players. They're not going to have the aura and the reach that the bigger clubs have. So it's obviously not going to work. The whole reason why the AFL is such a great sport is it's relatively fair in all facets. It's trying to give every team an equal chance of success, and this just would not help that. Number three, should the AFL introduce a red card system? Now, I am actually against this more or less. Now, I think it makes a lot of sense that, let's say in a grand final, biggest game of the year, someone from Carlton, let's say Carlton are playing Collingwood, massive rivalry, right? A Carlton player knocks out someone from Collingwood, they're concussed, that Collingwood player cannot play the rest of the match, and this is in the opening minutes, right? So now Collingwood are down a player for the rest of the game. How is that fair that, you know, the bad person, the person who did the bad action, their team has actually come off better? So that's the argument there, is how can you sort of even out that kind of stuff? But then conversely, if you think about the umpires, how hard their job would be. Look, their job is already so hard enough as it is. They're having to introduce, you know, how would they deem what a red card is, a yellow card, adding sin bins like sort of rugby does. Can you add that as well? It's just too much work for the umpires. Then you go into, you know, VAR, like stuff like that. It would just cause so much debate. It would just make the sport a lot worse. You hear football or soccer fans, if you say, are from England saying that the Premier League is worse than the Championship, which is the tier below, in the sense that there's no VAR in the Championship, so there's no, you know, controversial calls, no controversial debates. You know, the game's just more pure in the Championship. And then could you imagine, like, if there was a red card system in a grand final and it was wrong or controversial, and then the uproar that would cause, it just wouldn't make sense. The better way of tackling, you know, sort of big dog acts to players is to just, you know, ban them for longer. Number four, should the AFL reduce the number of teams in the competition? No, not at all. Now, the reason being is the talent pool seems to be getting worse and worse, relatively speaking. At least that's what I hear. So I guess talent-wise and for the spectacle of the game, it would make sense, but it wouldn't make sense financially for the AFL. There are states and places around Australia that deserve an AFL team. Ed McGuire raised that Perth are in talks to getting a third AFL team, and if Perth deserve a third AFL team, or Western Australia, sorry, then why doesn't South Australia? So that's two. Tasmanian Devils, they're going to get a team in 2027, 2028. I think their license is, so that's three. The Northern Territory definitely deserve a team, you know, Darwin sort of region. That's already four teams. Gold Coast are probably going to go bankrupt relatively soon, just completely based on speculation. So the number's only going to grow, it's going to increase. It's not going to reduce, unfortunately. So I disagree with that. Should the AFL introduce a twilight or night grand final? No. go. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have been to 2 grand finals in my time. 2017, Richmond, Adelaide. 2019, Richmond, GWS. Both of them, luckily, my team won Richmond. Now, most AFL fans are 18 or over. All AFL players are 18 or over. If you play a game, a twilight of night grand final, let's say it ends at 10 o'clock, most of these people are going out afterwards to celebrate the losses or the wins. Even if you don't barrack for one of those teams, you're going out. The grand final, it's a massive day in Australia. Once you're out, it's 11 o'clock, the night's already well and truly on the way, but it's basically about to finish, right? Whereas if you start at 2 o'clock, you know, it's during the day, a bit of sunlight, and then once the game's finished, you can go out from 7 onwards, right? And I just like the nostalgia. I like the history of it. Let's stick to it. No need to change things up. I am a fan of where the time slot is now, that 2-3 p.m. time. So I'm gonna regenerate some responses. Let's just get some, you know, different ideas in. So debate 1, pay disparity in the AFL. And the significant pay disparity between male and female AFL players is unjustifiable. Fucking hell, I didn't know this was a political thing. Wow, I don't really know how to respond to that. I'm gonna skip that because I don't know politics and I don't get involved in it. Concussions, yes, that's obviously a big thing. The game's changing. Salary cap in the AFL, nah, fuck that. Let them spend their money. Debate the AFL expansion to non-traditional Australian states. Well, I've already said this. Tassie Northern Territory already said they should put teams in there. Drug testing policy, whatever. Debate 6, the role of gambling sponsorship. Gambling is such a big role in the AFL. Now, I personally do not gamble, never have. The AFL heavily relies financially and economically on gambling and gambling sponsors for the AFL. So look, they're never going to get rid of them. This is getting too political. I'm going to go give the hardest AFL player debates. This will be better. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Now, as this is loading, I'm gonna give you prime and overall, like the whole career, them as a player. So I'm gonna give you those two, and then they're gonna go through everyone. Wow, it is giving us quite a few debates. So we're gonna start our debate with Wayne Carey versus Gary Ablett Sr. Prime, Wayne Carey, easy. Career, I had to say it, but probably Wayne Carey as well, because he's got that flag, and overall I feel like it was better. Dangerfield, Dustin Martin every day of the week, but he's 7 days a week, twice on a Sunday. Dustin Martin in his prime was better. 2017 Dustin Martin will never be defeated, but basically any player of all time. That was one of the greatest individual seasons I've ever witnessed, and no one can tell me otherwise. Try winning a Brownlow Norm Smith, never happened. He got the Gary Ayres Awards, the best finals player. He even got the Wayukin Award, which was the Dreamtime Award in 2017. He won everything you could win and more. Now, so obviously prime I think is better, although Dangerfield in 2016-17 was very good, but I'd take Dusty. Career as well, you got to take Dustin Martin, like, let's be real. If anyone's taken Patrick Dangerfield, that man can't kick. He just kicks long. And I hate to say it, Dustin Martin, like Lee Matthews said, something about being a doctor and then being a tradie. Like, he has the strength of a tradie or something, and then he has the precision skills of a doctor, you know, the death touch. Now we got Gary Ablett Jr. Gary Ablett Jr. career and prime every day of the week. Get that out of here. Matthew Pavlich and Nick Riewoldt. I'm going with Nick Riewoldt, prime and career every day of the week. Lee Matthews, Wayne Carey, Lee Matthews every day of the week, prime and career. Franklin versus Lockett, prime and career every day of the week. Gary Ablett Jr. versus Nat 5, Gary Ablett Jr. prime and career every day of the week. This is getting easy. Voss versus Dangerfield, career and prime every day of the week. Actually, Voss has more flags, but if we're talking about just a career as a player, like ignoring what the team does, Dangerfield. But, you know, I am noting the flags Voss won, but Dangerfield's won the one. Dunstall versus Lloyd. Dunstall every day of the week, prime, all-time, career. Simon Black, Joel Selwood. Ooh, now this one gets a little bit spicy. Now, Joel Selwood has won more flags. Black's only won the 3. Selwood won one as a captain. Ooh, this is gonna be hard. Simon Black or Joel Selwood? Recency bias says Joel Selwood. Nostalgia Merchant says Simon Black. Simon Black, left footer, silky smooth. He won a Norm Smith. Joel Selwood didn't quite get that. Only because of the extra flag, the captaincy, I will go with Joel Selwood. Anyway, that's about it. I've just gone and fucked around with a couple ChatGPT things. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Follow the TikTok, FTFooty with 2 Ys. Post there all the time, so give that a go. I will see you in another video. Thank you for watching.